So, what if you could build a vault that was made of glass? One where everybody could see what's inside, but absolutely no one could ever change the contents. Well, that's pretty much the core idea behind a public ledger, which is the concept that powers some really big technologies, like blockchain. Today, we're not going to get lost in all the technical jargon. Instead, we're just going to focus on two really simple ideas: trust and transparency. And to really get why this all matters, let's start with something most of us can relate to: a classic problem of trust, buying a used car. You know the feeling, right? You find a car, it looks perfect, the price is just right, but then there's that little nagging question in the back of your mind. What am I not being told? That anxiety, it all comes from one single place: a lack of complete, trustworthy information. You're basically trying to piece together a story from these scattered records and the word of a salesperson who, let's be honest, has a pretty big incentive to hide the bad parts. Was it in an accident? Did the last owner just forget about oil changes? The car's real history is hidden away in private files and databases, if it was even recorded at all. You're being asked to just trust them, but you don't really have a good reason to, do you? Okay, now let's just flip that entire scenario on its head. Forget all the anxiety, forget the guesswork. Imagine a world where that car's entire history wasn't something you had to dig for, but something you could just see. I mean, this is the dream, isn't it? Every single event in that car's life, from the moment it left the factory to the second it rolled onto the dealership's lot, recorded in perfect detail. Every repair, every tune-up, every owner, all instantly available and completely verifiable. No trust required. Well, that ideal solution actually has a name. It's the central idea behind what we call a public ledger, often powered by blockchain. And really, it's a totally new way of thinking about how we keep records. So what exactly is it? Well, at its heart, it's just a digital record book. But there are three key things that make it so revolutionary. One, it's shared, which means everyone has a copy, so no single person is in control. Two, it's unchangeable, because every entry is cryptographically locked to the one before it, creating a permanent, unbreakable chain. And three, it's public, which means anyone, and I mean anyone, is free to look at it. And this comparison here really shows you just how big of a shift this is. I mean, the old way relies on hidden paperwork and expensive experts like lawyers to check on everything. You ultimately have to trust a person or an institution. But with a public ledger, the proof is right out in the open, it's instantly verifiable by anyone, and it's secured by a history that just can't be changed. Okay, I know this can still sound a little high-tech and abstract, so let's bring it back down to earth with a really simple analogy that'll make the whole idea just click. This quote, right here, nails it. Just picture a giant notice board, right in the center of a global village. Anyone can post a new notice for everyone else to see, but the ink is permanent. Once a notice is up, it is there forever. Any attempt to mess with it would be immediately obvious to the entire village. So here's how it would work. First, something happens. Let's say you buy a cow from your neighbor. Second, instead of some private receipt, the sale gets posted on that public notice board. Third, and this is the most important part, the entire community sees it. They all become witnesses to you now owning that cow. And finally, that notice becomes a permanent part of the board's history. Nobody can sneak in at night and scratch it out or change the name. So here's the big takeaway from all that. Your proof of ownership doesn't come from some piece of paper you keep locked away in a safe. It comes from the shared, public knowledge of the entire community. The community itself is the verification system. All right, so we've got the what and the how. But what about the so what? Why is this idea so incredibly powerful? Well, it all comes down to getting rid of the middlemen. Yeah, the biggest impact here is the potential to just eliminate middlemen. Think about it, we rely on so many third parties, like banks, lawyers, even governments, whose main job is to verify information and act as a source of trust for us. A public ledger can do that very same job, but automatically and transparently for everyone involved. Think about buying a house, for example. You pay lawyers and title companies a ton of money just to dig through old records and confirm that the person selling the house actually has the right to sell it. With a public ledger, that entire history would be available for all to see. The ledger itself becomes the proof, and those expensive go-betweens might not be needed anymore. And that really brings us to the fundamental principle behind all of this. What we're talking about is a shift from trusting institutions or people to trusting a system that's built on radical transparency,
where trust is created not because someone tells you trust me, but because anyone can look for themselves and verify the truth. It's that glass vault, open for everyone to inspect. So this leaves us with a really fascinating question. We started this whole conversation with a used car, but if you can create a tamper-proof, transparent history for literally anything, what else could you put inside that glass vault? What about the journey of our food from the farm to our table, or the flow of donations to a charity, the ownership of a piece of art? The potential is just massive, and it all comes back to that one simple, powerful idea of a public notice board for the entire world to see.